The psychedelic revolution is here. If you want to integrate your visionary experiences into your purpose, get clear on your entrepreneurial path, and help people while you do what you love, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to The Psychedelic Entrepreneur, Medicine for These Times. I'm your host, Beth Weinstein. I'm a spiritual business coach, 3-time entrepreneur, and a lifelong student of psychedelics and sacred plant medicines. You carry your own unique medicine, and your medicine is what we need for these times. This podcast will help you to share your medicine so you can create transformation in the world. Listen in on conversations with psychedelic leaders, changemakers, and conscious entrepreneurs who are living proof that a better world is possible when you follow your heart and live in alignment with your soul. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Medicine for These Times. I am so honored to have my friend, my client, and also a teacher of mine, Jessonica Caplan, here with us today. Hi, Jess.
Hi. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Yes, here we are. Yeah, it's funny. I forgot you're also one of my teachers too. Mm-hmm. So Jessonica is a vocal embodiment coach, singer, and sound practitioner who works with voice and sound as portals for embodiment, transformation, and connection. Known for her voice-infused soundscapes and open-hearted approach to embodying the voice called sonic embodiment, Jessonica leads immersive workshops, retreats, trainings, and one-on-one mentorships in the art of therapeutic voice and sound. She's a graduate of the Open Center Sound and Music Institute and Grammy Award-nominated artist Silvia Nakkach's Yoga of the Voice certificate. She's passionate about helping people remember the voice that they're born with. She's a longtime yoga teacher and lover of ceremonial work, and draws inspiration from the earth, indigenous traditions, and her own Jewish roots. She lives right near me in the Hudson Valley with her amazing family and a new puppy and a kitty, and is currently working on an album of her own medicine songs. And her song, Call Me Home, is available on all listening platforms under, Spotify, under her alias, Jessonica. Jessonica. I know. I was like, wait, I know your name, but what's this?
Jessonica.
Her work has been covered in the New York Times, The Observer, Vogue, and on CBS News. Yeah, this is awesome. Let's get into it. I've known Jess since I think we first met in, I think it was 2016.
Oh, yeah.
In New York City when you were the sound healer at an event I ran with East Forest. And here we are. We're neighbors. We're friends. You're one of my clients, and I've done your sonic embodiment program. Amazing. Such a portal. But I only recently heard a little bit of your details of your story, but I would love to know, what got you onto this path of working with your voice, of sound healing, music, even the yoga. And then I always make jokes on this podcast about, what did you used to do? Were you once an attorney? And then I recently found out you actually were an attorney. And I was like, what?
Very
no
briefly.
Way.
For a very not hot second.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Yeah, I kind of came out of the womb, I feel like, singing. I really just was really connected to my voice, really from the moment I could speak, from the moment I sounded. I was just in love with singing, specifically singing. And that got me into performance at a really young age. I think my first play was at age 4. So it just continued from there. I was really involved in musical theater. I studied acting. I studied theater. I eventually went on to study singing and the voice. And that kind of took me through quite a long time. I studied theater in college, and I love to sing. And then let's fast forward to my 20s. I was actually living in Hong Kong, which is a whole other story in another life for another podcast. And I got really into yoga there. First, I think I was drawn just to the physical practice. I love to move my body, and that was a practice that I just really connected with. It also gave me community, which I really needed at that time in Hong Kong, living as an expat. So it provided that space, that sangha, as we say in yoga community. And I became a yoga teacher, which was so far from anything I imagined at that time, because this is back like in 2000 and I'm not sure, 2005, 2006. And it's like, me, a yoga teacher? I just took a yoga teacher training because I was so interested and wanted to deeply immerse with my teacher at the time. And I turned out being asked to teach at that same yoga studio as soon as I graduated. So that got me onto a whole being immersed in yoga, and becoming a teacher got me, just exploring my spirituality for the first time in a way that was separate from, I grew up in a Jewish community, Jewish household, not super, super observant, but observant of holidays, and definitely with a strong Jewish identity. But that somehow never really translated so much into my own personal spirituality. So that was yoga and meditation brought me into that exploration. And then we'll fast forward a little more, like another decade or so of being a yoga teacher, and I'm living in New York City and teaching yoga. And actually at that time I was going out for auditions, and I was performing, singing, acting. And just in my yoga classes at the end of class, while people were resting in Shavasana, I started to just spontaneously just sound. And it was different than singing. I had been to yoga classes where somebody takes out their guitar or a harmonium, which is sitting right here, and they chant or they sing a song. But it wasn't that. It was different. It was just sort of like spontaneous. Like now I would call it like a transmission. At the time, I just was doing it. It wasn't something I'd experienced. But after these transmissions, these vocalizations, people would come up to me after class and they'd say, "What were you doing there? I just went so deep. I've never relaxed that deeply in a Shavasana." And it would be, just 5 minutes. And that got me super curious. I was like, what am I doing? What is this about? And at the same time, people just started to talk to me. You know how these things happen when something is meant to come into your life. It just starts coming from all directions. Like I'm at a party and this guy who I actually found quite attractive starts telling me about sound healing and about sound and the Egyptian pyramids. And I'm like, whoa, trippy. And also, hi.
I'd like to know who that is.
And meanwhile, I'm like start Googling sound healing. What is that? I hadn't even really heard of that. Even though, in class, sometimes someone might have, a Himalayan bowl and just strike it at the beginning or end of a class. But I didn't know about this whole world of sound healing. So I started to explore it. And soon that led me to a training, which was like almost a year-long training in becoming an integrative sound practitioner at the Open Center in New York City. Also, at the same time, I was curious about my voice as an instrument for something. I wasn't even calling it healing. I was just curious about it. I was like, what is it that's happening to these people? And how can I explore that more for myself? Because I could feel that there was something I was on the edge of with my voice that was a shift. And so I started talking about that too to people. And a good friend of mine, he said, "You know what? I think you should talk to my friend who she's a voice teacher. But I think there's something there." And it turned out there was totally something there. And I worked with her for a few years actually, and she guided me into this practice. She was quite a classical voice teacher at the time. Beautiful, beautiful voice, amazing, powerful instrument. Her name is Bisan Toron. I am forever indebted to her for guiding me into this practice she called creature work, or voice creatures, I hear she calls it now. And that was this very intuitive practice where you just drop into yourself. Beth, because you've experienced it. You drop into yourself, you drop into the moment, and you just let whatever wants to come through you, through your sound to come through. So it could be called many things. It's really an intuitive vocalizing practice. And that the first time that we met, she said, I've never done this with somebody in a first session, but I just am sensing that this is what you're here for and that you're ready for this. And I said, I think so. And she demonstrated for me. And I just was like, tears rolling down my face. And like, yes, that's what I'm here for. Because it was like, I had already started to walk through that door, but this was a next level of it. This was like really going deeper and really letting whatever come through. I would find myself making these sounds that I just couldn't even believe I was making. I didn't know where they were coming from. They felt otherworldly. They felt at times even like scary, gnarly. And it really opened me up and opened my voice up to this whole other dimension. Also, simultaneously, I got into plant medicine. And through that work, it was just like all happening concurrently. So studying sound healing, plant medicine coming into my life. Also, in that same way, people just randomly talking to me at parties about medicine. And yeah, and not many people I knew at that time were in that world. So, and then this voice teacher. So all these things happening concurrently for this just breaking. What it felt like to me was just, I didn't realize it because I was always very connected to my voice and I loved to sing. But there was a box that I was in. It was like I was a soprano and I had a pretty voice and it had to sound pretty, or else I wouldn't get that role. And I was the good girl because, the soprano is usually the good girl in musical theater. And like the naughty girl has that like the lower, beltier kind of voice. So it just blasted all of that. And I recognized that, wow, these sounds that are primal, that are deep, that are from, who knows, past lives, ancestors, also just emotions moving through me. They are me and they're my voice, and they allow, being able to vocalize them allows me to bring my essence out into the world in this whole new way. And so it was just like a really new relationship with my voice that came out of that cauldron.
God, I've never heard this whole story.
Yeah.
I've heard the maybe like tiny pieces of it. And I just want to point out, I know, I think you've heard me refer to you as like the kind of like OG sound healer. I mean, we were in New York City and you were one of the few people out there even doing like the sound baths and this kind of work. And this was, many years ago, and now it's kind of like all over the place. And maybe people do like a 1-day training, and you did a whole year-long training, and you have this entire life background and vocal training. And it really does make a difference. I recently said to someone, I was like, the only sound baths I'll go to are Jess's because they're just so good. But wow, what a story. And now, so you and I have known each other since, whatever it's been, 2016-ish. And
I was pregnant actually at that event. Yeah.
No way. I had no idea. Did I know?
I wasn't telling anyone at that point. So it was still early. Yeah.
Ooh, activated.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So yeah. And then last year, you decided, so I will disclose this. I took Jess's, sonic embodiment program. Oh my God.
Reclaim.
Oh yeah. Reclaim. Yeah. Wrong name. 3 years ago, I think it was 2, 3.
Maybe 2.
2? Yeah. Oh God, it feels like eons ago. And it was really transformational. It was like such a deep process. I was in it in the, and through a New York winter and going through a lot of like personal stuff and life transitions and just having that container and being held. It was like, wow, it really helped me through. And I could feel my voice change since then. And that was only, that was like not even a really long program. But then, you came to my group mastermind. It's been a little less than a year. And you came in with these, these plans, and then life happened and took you in some other directions. But some other magic started happening. I'm curious, reflecting back into like a year ago where you were, how do you feel like your life and your business, because to me, life is business and business is life. How do you think things have shifted, both internally and externally in your work, in your life, in your way of being in the world?
Mm-hmm. Well, when I think about last year at this time, I was actually there was a big expansion for me last year, especially from like early summer through, for those 6 months up until like around beginning of this year. I was in this expansion. Work was really flowing, because as as an entrepreneur, it's like there are ups and downs. You ride the waves, and it was expansive. Life also was expansive. My husband and I, my partner, we made like a big shift in our relationship, and that was very expansive for me and for us. And it just felt like a lot. There were windfalls, like making a lot more for certain things than I was expecting. Like it was expansive career-wise, financially, energetically, emotionally. And having experienced quite many expansions in my life, we forget about what's on the other side of expansion, right? There does have to be usually some kind of contraction after an expansion, because that's the nature of the universe, is to contract and expand. There's a word called spanda in Sanskrit, which refers to that, like the expansion and contraction of life and of the universe. And so, when I look back at that time, there was that, I was in that expansive state. And when I started your program, I was still like riding that high of that expansion. And then actually I went into quite a contraction. Things got a lot quieter. And I was like, what is happening? As we do. There's still work, of course, but it was just not flowing in the same kind of way. And what I know now is that that contraction that happened was making way for like a much bigger expansion than I had any idea of. Something I've been dreaming of since we moved up here to Accord in the Hudson Valley. I've been dreaming of a space of my own, but for 8 years we were renting this house. We didn't yet have the capacity to buy our home. And we came to a point where our landlords, also dear friends of ours and neighbors, they were like, we have to sell the house. So it's either we're offering for you to buy it, or you're probably going to have to hit the road. So it was a big moment, a big decision. And we decided in March to go forward and to, purchase this house with 10 acres, beautiful land that we feel extremely connected to. Spent so much time here, over COVID. It was like we were just on the land, especially during that time, like every day, all day we were outside. And this is the land, this is the home where my child was born, in our living room, where we've spent all these really formative times together. So we acquired this home, this land, and then kind of in a wild and chaotic way, this summer we were making some changes outside. It was really, our house is really in the forest, and we needed to take down some trees, which was challenging. But out of that challenge and that pain, for me, it was really hard for me to be responsible for taking trees down. But what happened is an area of land kind of opened up, and we said, what are we going to do with this area of land? And I said, could we put a yurt there? And this has been my dream, to have particularly a circular space for my work, for my sound work, my voice work, for my healing work, everything that I do. And somehow we were able to manifest the funds, and and you were here just a few weeks ago for a really beautiful foundation setting ritual that we did together. That was so awesome. And there are trucks on the land right now. Luckily they took a lunch break because it's quieted down, but like a few minutes ago there was a lot of noise because they are literally doing the foundation. It's been dug, and very soon, probably next week, they will start the build. The pieces of the yurt have been sitting there and waiting to be put together. So I guess that's a very long answer for where I'm at now. Is I had no idea that this could even possibly be happening. So I recently told you that, even this program has been very different from what I imagined. I imagined, that I'd be really building my clients and building maybe my the tech side of things. But actually what it's been is more on an energetic level, having this, expanding my capacity, I believe, to receive more, so that I could, this gift could come in, this gift of a space, which I've wanted for so long. And I really feel that is going to allow a lot more to unfold for me. Yeah, to have people come to me. Of course, I'll still go to people. I'll still offer my sound at retreats and events as I do. And I'll also be able to have people here and have just, I feel like the potential and the options are just so infinite when there's, a space right here for me to create from.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And, you developed this program, and I know you work with clients also one-on-one, and it's I think that came up a few times about, offering an in-person deep dive as part of your program, or, maybe it's a hybrid where it's group and then some in-person work. And it's to pull all that off, this is the way, right? You have to have your own space. I mean, yeah, you could always rent spaces, but it's never the same. And this is just so perfect. I also want to point out, because this is something that happens a lot with entrepreneurs. I'm going through it myself right now, where in order to expand and grow, and also, once the yurt is set in place and life kind of settles back in, then you'll go through another expansion process where then maybe you launch the next level program or the next, phase of your work. But, it's very common to go through these tests. And I think both of us had an awareness, when you were launching something in the program, and it was kind of you had a lot going on, family stuff, the land, internal, external. And it was throwing in the work to launch a program. It's hard. I mean, it's we have to really be in this, and I always say it's we have to be aware of the reality of our lives. Yeah, you can have some problems going on, or maybe things are just a little but you can still launch things. But if there's kind of a lot of energy being, going into other places, health and wellness and family and moving, buying houses, these big life events. It's always when I tell people, you have to prioritize yourself first. It has to be you, because then it's launching a program is always going to feel hard, or it's going to be not fully energized. Yeah. And I think a lot of us entrepreneurs get put to that test very often. I mean, I'm going through it myself right now, where I was you know what? I think it's time for doing things a little different. That means letting go and also trusting deeply in the process. And then, once your life started to kind of okay, you got the house settled and, the yurt's underway. I think you said you got some private clients that just came in, right? And you've done trainings, and share about that. And what is your experience of kind of being put through that test of launching something during chaos?
Yeah, I was forcing it. I was definitely forcing it because I had the desire, and I still have the desire, and I know it will happen, and it will happen as it's meant to, but I was definitely pushing it, particularly because I have been in this program. And so I had this idea in my mind, oh, well, if I'm in this program, then I have to do something bigger and better than I've done before. And I've got to, bring in more money, honestly, than I have before, because that was one of my intentions. And I realized that working from that place, or trying to create from that place of like, I shoulding on myself, right? It's not a creative space because it's not spacious. I feel like creativity comes out of spaciousness, comes out of, those moments where we can just like be and receive. So it was good to finally just let go of that, to stop pushing, and to recognize like there is so much happening right now that is huge, that is going to lead to bigger and better programs, and to who knows what kind of collaborations. I really feel that space. The reason why I wanted to bring together a group of people for the foundation setting ceremony that we had here a few weeks ago was because I love collaboration. I always have. I grew up in theater, so that is such a collaborative effort. So it's just in my bones to love that, to collaborate. So I really feel that a lot of collaboration is going to happen in there. That was a bit of a tangent, but pushing, forcing. No, that's not a place that's not going to create abundance. That's like creating, like, I feel tense. I feel like doing this, just talking about it. So when I just relaxed and was like, you know what? It's okay. I don't have to push right now. Things are coming to me, actually, that I couldn't have imagined at the beginning of this year. We didn't own our house at the beginning of this year. We weren't even really, we were in the conversation, but we weren't even certain. And so all of this happened very quickly. And it feels really important to honor the energy, right, of like what is actually happening right now. And when we do, then things just start to flow, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a moment where after, what felt like there's this stuckness that I was in, once I relaxed and was like, you know what, it's okay. It's okay if I'm not busy. I also have that, even though I no longer live in Manhattan, I still have that kind of ingrained in my being. It's like, there's also part of me that loves to be busy. I am a manifesting generator. It's like, I've always been someone who does a lot, who can be kind of what others might think is spread thin, but feels really natural and good to me to do a lot, to have my hands on a lot of different things. I've done so many different things in the course of my life. And I think this time asked me, because I'm a mama, I maintain our home. There's a lot that I do just day to day, and to like let go of that need to do and be busy. I feel like more started to come my way. It was like this moment that just, and things still are a little quieter than they were maybe last year at this time. And it's okay, because I know it's coming. Right now, I don't have a physical space for myself and for my work. So it's like, it's kind of perfect for this time of year where we're like going inward and germinating. And then it's going to be this like big expansion in the spring when the space, I'm envisioning that it will be complete, hopefully like by spring, by the actual spring equinox.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And it's funny because I'm sitting here when you were sharing about, the energy of like the tension and the pushing, and then it's really not creative. And it's funny because I was like, wow, I wonder how much of this is your own medicine, that comes up in the work you do with your clients. When I was in reclaim, I mean, it's hard. It's hard for me to be in, or it's probably hard for a lot of us, right? To be in these voice programs or doing vocal work, which I've done for so many years, but it's so scary. And it's like, well, really, you know, the work you do is about that. It's about relaxing into it, allowing the expression to come through. And I'm wondering, you know, I really sometimes feel like everything is a mirror, and I'm wondering, how does this mirror your clients and what they go through? Because I know what I was going through, and I know you've mentioned, you know, women who feel like that tension, the stuckness in their voice or their power, you know, their own personal power. How does the voice help this energy? You know, like, what have you noticed over the years working with people and their voice?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, thank you for that reflection of my work, because absolutely, I don't even like to call it work. I'd rather call it play. So when I give homework, I don't call it homework. I call it home play, because I really wanted to feel like that. And I realized that sometimes there's still that framing of like, oh, I have to do this practice. But really the work, the practice that I'm encouraging is one of play. It's one of like opening and receiving and flowing and not pushing, not like, whoa. Really, the breath that I guide people into, which is a breath that I received from a wonderful teacher more recently, actually, in the last couple of years, Fides Crooker, a classical opera singer, is based in Toronto. She's beautiful, beautiful work with the voice, with men and women, but she wrote a book specifically around like rewilding the female voice. Reclaiming Calliope is the name of it. And I love that it has the word reclaim in it, which is the name of my program. And I met her after I had named it that. And so it really is. It's like the yawn. You know how I love the yawn and the opening and the softening. And it's really, I don't call it necessarily a feminine embodiment practice. It's kind of, that's such a buzzword in certain worlds, as you know, but it really is. It really is. There are many women who come to me and they specifically say that they're looking to drop more into their feminine, that they have, like, actually the two clients I'm thinking of right now that I'm going to be seeing tomorrow, they both came to me with that desire to, like, stop pushing, stop being in that doing, and softening into their feminine energy. And that's what I like to guide women. I have worked with men. I would say women are like 95% of my clientele. That's who has come to me over the years. And it feels like that's really where my work is with women and the voice, because our legacy is one of being silencing ourselves. So much talk. I've talked to so many women about the voice over the last 10 years, and often there are tears. Just even beginning to talk about that feeling of stuckness. And I understand, even though I was really connected with my singing voice, I was pretty shy as a kid. And if I had to get up in front of my class when I was younger, I was pretty nervous. I was pretty scared. I could get up in front of hundreds, even thousands of people and sing and do anything. But when it came to just being me in, no costume, no mask, no character to hide behind, I would be quite nervous. And public speaking is one of the that's the most common phobia, I believe, out there. So it's such a common thing that especially for women, that we feel unable to speak up, to share truth, to rock the boat. I've definitely been someone who wants to please people, who wants people to like me. Maybe it's not conscious, but it's there, that like the fawning, the people pleasing. So when we drop into our voice and even just like feeling the sound, the vibration of our voice. It's a power. It's like so raw, and it can bring together all and integrate all those parts of us that have been shut down or that have been quieted, whether by others or by ourselves. So there's something like deeply spiritual, in my opinion, about the voice. The voice is like, think about it. Where does it come from? When you think about how each voice, if you listen to everyone's voice, there is no two voices are the same. Sometimes relatives might have like similar voices. My sisters, their voices on the phone, they can sound similar, but in person, totally different. Every voice is so unique, and it is our essence. It is our vibrational signature. And so to connect with that, and not just, our everyday speaking voice, which can be kind of like in a very, not monotone, but it can be within a certain range. We don't go really low when we talk. We don't go really high. Maybe some people do, but for the most part, we're staying within a very specific range. But when we start to explore all the different sounds that are within us, it's like we connect with different parts of ourselves, and maybe even beyond ourselves, but we connect with maybe our ancestors. I have seen clients of mine, like before my eyes, doing this creature work, transform and become ancestral beings, and they will say that after, when we're talking after the practice, they're like, wow, I just went into this completely other world. It's quite a shamanic practice, although I don't call it that, but it has that quality of kind of like lifting the veil and taking us into the unseen world. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And the voice can do that because it's everything is vibration, right? The world is vibration. It's energy. Even the things that appear to be solid they're moving, they're vibrational. And sound has the capacity, vibration. It changes matter. Now I'm going into the sound healing realm, but if you ever check out cymatics and you see how like a sound it creates these beautiful, almost like mandalas, these beautiful designs with like different kinds of like sand and paste. Google cymatics, whoever's listening, and check it out. And it shows you how sound affects physical matter. And if you think about what our voice can do within us and how it can really like change ourselves and transform us from the inside. We don't even have to go to a sound bath. We could just sound ourselves like we are the instrument. So I feel like I just went, woo!
No, I love it.
All over.
No, I love it because I was gonna share that when I was in Reclaim, I had this like massive ancestral, I don't know what to call it, like activation portal. That was probably sparked off one of the most profound and hardest like healing journeys of my life. I mean, I do believe that portal that opened, and I actually got COVID during it, and that was like really, but it was amazing. It was so deep. It was like very hard, but that's where like between the sound and the voice and like the prayers and the ancestors and then COVID and
the COVID,
there was so much, and it was like a very psychedelic experience, very much. And, it's always kind of mystified me that every time I've done deeper vocal work or even just kept up my chanting practice or even just regular singing, it's like, I always feel better. I'm always happier. I feel higher vibration. Like my reality starts to shift. I had started doing voice work, and then my whole business shifted. And I tell so many people to do vocal work, like just do the voice, especially, for us entrepreneurs that are solopreneurs that are putting ourselves out there in the internet, where you are your business, as a coach or a healer or a facilitator or a therapist, it's like it's you. So, if there's these energetic blocks in the body and the energy system, and then you start to do some of this, intuitive vocal work with Jess, it's like your reality starts to shift. And I'm wondering, because I've never really known the explanation other than I just think it's a vibration thing. But how do you see your clients shift when they come to work with you? Like they come in one way and then they leave a few months later or 6 months later. Like what tends to happen the most for people?
I think there's a pretty wide spectrum. There are the women who, one person specifically comes to mind where she really just always believed, because what she had been told as a child, like she really believed it was better to be quiet. She took that on. Someone had told her that probably over and over in her family, like, be quiet. It's better for children to be quiet. So she took that on, and through working with me through Reclaim, and I believe we did some sessions, some one-on-one sessions in addition to Reclaim, she just found herself sounding all like through her day, like letting her voice out. And she said it was so liberating to feel her voice and let her voice just out in the world. And like, yeah, to me, the way I think about that is like the voice is our soul. It's our essence. Mm-hmm. So it's like how our essence, our soul can move out into the air around us, into the atmosphere. So that's one example. And she has sent me messages. I think it was like maybe a year ago. Like, I love receiving these messages where, someone who I haven't worked with for years reaches out and says, I just want to tell you how grateful I am that, I have a daily sounding practice now. And this is someone who thought she should just shut up, like that's touches my heart so much. I actually just bumped into someone last weekend at a movie theater, someone I didn't even recognize because she had been in my sound bath, my first sound baths, like back like 10 years ago at Pure Yoga in New York City. And she said that she and her husband, like that was the most special thing that they've ever done together, was coming to my sound baths, and that they still do the sounding exercises, because I always incorporate toning, sounding, vocalizing, usually in my sound bath experiences. And she said, like, we still do that together. And it's sometimes like serious, and it's sometimes really playful and silly, but we still, like, it's really stayed with us. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And then there's like really massive transformations. Like another person I'm thinking of who, she came to me just really wanting to sing and believing that she could not sing. Once again, her mother told her at, I think it was age 3, that she sounded like a dying, I forget what the animal was, but like a cow or something. She sang her a song and she said it was like a dying animal. And she may have even been joking, but she took that to heart and she did not sing. She believed she could not sing. And now this woman is leading ceremonies, and this is what she does. I see her on Instagram and she's playing her charango and singing. She's playing musical instruments now. And she really credits my program Reclaim for that. She sends me so many people. And so, yeah, there are many levels of it, but I think the thing, like my prayer and my hope and desire for the women that I work with is that, regardless of what it looks like outwardly, that it's an acceptance and a love of their voice and of their expression, whatever it may be, however it turns out manifesting. Maybe it's just that every day they just let out sounds like, as they're moving through their day. Or maybe they're performing, or maybe they're just sharing a song with their loved ones. and they feel good about it. And it brings love, you know, to those that they love. You know, I think there's so many manifestations of it, but ultimately it's about the relationship with one's voice, and that it shifts into a place of acceptance and ultimately love. Because so many women do not love their voice.
So many people, I know.
So many people, not just women.
Well, yeah, and women especially. I mean, I think it's a very deep process for us. You know, even just societally, it's like, because I don't remember being shut down by anybody in particular, but I remember as a kid, I used to make up songs. I used to sing out loud. I sang in a choir. I sang at church, and never had an issue with my voice until suddenly I had an issue with my voice. And I don't remember what happened, and I'm sure a lot of people listening have had that same experience. It's like our natural tendencies as children, I was making up just goofy songs about Lord knows what. And there was never a question. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. And then, as I got older, it was like, no, I don't sing. I can't sing. It was like, I hated hearing it. I sounded terrible. And then, of course, the medicine work brings you into this place of, I don't know, not everybody, I guess, but a lot of people brings you into this place of wanting to sing, of realizing like this is our essence and it's our birthright. And you don't have to sound good, whatever that means, because that's all just, some people might think, Bob Dylan sounds terrible, and maybe he actually does, right? Like, so on some level, it's like, who's to say what's good or bad?
Yeah, but for me, it's more about, like, I'll always say, like, let's let go of, like, how does it sound? Because people will often say, like, how did that sound? Does it sound good? So how does it feel? That's what I want to know, because how it feels is how really it's going to be received. So sometimes we hear a voice and it may not be, perfectly trained. It may not be what is perfect, but it may be grovelly or like have, a texture that isn't smooth or whatever it is. It may even be like, if you've ever like sung and cried at the same time, that is a beautiful experience. And you will bring people to tears that way, because there's a resonance there. And so for me, a lot of my exploration with my clients and my programs is like, let's experience the resonance of our voice. What is that? And that is what like moves out, like the resonance is what moves out and literally touches somebody and affects them. And maybe brings them to tears or reminds them of a memory of a loved one or something that opens their heart. And it's really not about sounding good. That was like, back 12 years ago when I had that blasting open of the box that I was in, I recognized, wow, it can sound really ugly and even scary and gnarly and creepy, and it's actually beautiful. That's beautiful because it's authentic.
Wow. I mean, when I think about like the medicine we need for these times, I mean, I've said, and I do believe it's going to continue to grow, that this voice work is it. It's like, I mean, I have been incorporating it into my own work. I've assigned it to clients. I'm like, just do something, like sing, anything. On your own, no one has to hear it. And so you can just do it and play. And, we see all the time that people have shifts every time they do this kind of work. And I really do believe that this is going to be growing so much more because it's what our world needs, and like you said, it's how it feels, not how it sounds. I know I personally always go into that, like, how did that sound? But then I'm like, you know what? It felt good to me, and I don't care. I actually just don't care how it sounds, because I know it's like I'm singing because it comes through me, or it's like, it just feels like it's alive. And it honestly, I tell people constantly that it feels like I'm getting an internal massage, which probably I am, right? My vagus nerve, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's it. It's like, it feels good. And I also want to remind people that we still have 2 more years left of Uranus and Taurus, which is all about this kind of work, like embodiment work. This is why, you said the buzzword of like feminine embodiment. It's so buzzy, but it's because people are realizing like how out of balance we've been, especially like you and I have similar backgrounds. It's like living in New York, we were working these careers, and like that kind of lifestyle of just being busy. I'm also a manifesting generator. And we're learning, I think, as a culture to like start to allow and know that maybe there is actually like divine guidance and divine support when we're relaxed, when we're in this flow. And I think more and more people are realizing that it's not healthy to be pushing with their nervous systems on overload and then going into adrenal fatigue or having insomnia or whatever. And the more we are in this, balanced place of like allowing that flow, allowing more of the feminine. And, like I constantly am referring to our divine channels. And this is the work we do, in my mastermind with my clients, is really like allowing you as channel to flow through. And when that happens, things do just get easier. I mean, I see this constantly where it's like weird things happen, like clients come out of the blue, and sometimes it's not clients. Sometimes it's a yurt or a house or a partner or an opportunity. I mean, I've seen everything over the years. And so I'm so glad you're doing this, because this is such needed medicine. And I cannot recommend your work enough. I actually can't wait to do the next one myself. So, if you could share a little bit about where people can find you, what you have offered now, and then what you have maybe coming up in the next 6 to 12 months. Like, what are and don't worry, you don't have to have everything planned, but what are your plans for the year?
Well, you can find me on JessonicaCaplan.com. That's Caplan with a C. And you can find more about, events that are happening. Coming up, I have a retreat. If you're interested, so I teach, in addition to guiding women and men in sonic embodiment and experiencing ourselves as the sound beings that we are. So that's the vocal work, but it also includes movement and breath, of course, and lots of play and improvisation. So that's the voice work. And in addition to that, I also teach and train people in sound work. So learning how to work with sound as this powerful modality for healing, for transformation, for self-connection, for community. So the upcoming thing I have there is in February, I'm heading to Mazunte, to a retreat center called El Triangulo. It's actually the Maha Rose, if you know Maha Rose, that's based in Brooklyn. It's the Mexico outpost it's their retreat center in Mexico. We did the same thing last year. That's a collaboration, a co-facilitation with another really amazing sound person, music therapist, incredibly talented musician, Katie Down. So we do that together. So that'll be happening. I have another part in-person training that'll be happening in April through a yoga school that I teach for, Prema Yoga. She's actually made sound therapy part of her required curriculum for a therapeutic yoga teacher training. And then once my yurt opens, just right over there in the spring, I'm going to be offering a lot of in-person events. I also intend to launch Reclaim. I don't know the dates yet. Stay tuned. But that will be happening. I have some recording projects also, that are in the works. So I'll just say that. But I will be releasing a song soon, probably within the next month. Ooh. And that's a song that is like my anthem for all voices. It's called Fill My Lungs.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. I can't wait. Yay. What a surprise. I love it. Aw.
Yeah. And then I work one-on-one with clients as well. And like I said, my group program, Reclaim, I'm going to be launching an expanded version of that called Reclaim Amplified, which will be a longer version, which will really allow for the slow unfolding that I feel is necessary for the voice. You know, it's like healing. It doesn't happen in a snap. Sometimes it does. There are those moments where you just have that quantum leap. But the voice really, it needs time. We need to feel safe. I also bring a lot of somatic work into my work with the voice. I've been studying somatic experiencing over the last few years. So that comes in. So we want to have like a really nourished nervous system. And the voice, working with the voice, can help us to nourish our nervous system. Because like you said, we're toning the vagus nerve when we sound, when we sing, when we tone. So it's so good for us. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all the ways.
Oh. Well, we'll have all your links right here in the show notes so everybody can follow you, get on your email list, reach out to you. I cannot recommend your work enough. And also your retreats, events. I'm like, oh, Mazunte, that sounds really nice.
Yeah, it's called Sound School.
Oh, yes, yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for sharing your medicine in the world. This is so important, and I really believe in this work more than most. I mean, I always say like the top 3 modalities, this is one of them that I've done. It's like been very life-changing, and I really feel like it's my own, I call it like my antidepressant. Anytime I'm feeling kind of down, it's like, you know, just sing or chant, even if it's like, okay, you got to do it even if you don't want to, and you immediately feel better. So thank you so much for teaching this and bringing this to the world. I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Beth.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're feeling inspired, I'd appreciate it if you showed your love with a review. And check out my YouTube channel where you can find the video version of this podcast. You can also head to bethaweinstein.com to learn more about me and grab my free business growth trainings. Remember, you carry your own unique medicine, and your medicine is what we need for these times.